Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Different type of kitchen time. We're not doing plants, well we are, but not in the traditional manner. I'm going to have a go with this live sphagnum moss, actually getting it to grow in the grow room, where the birds can't get at it. Yes, if I grew it outside I could put some net over it, and it's all faff at the end of the day. And it's only ever going to get used in the grow room and potentially to go over the top of pots to dress them if I take certain things to a show. It may also get used for some mounts, but in the main it's for the grow room, so it would be better if it grew in the grow room. Then it's sort of acclimatised. So I'm just trying to get this away so that when I undo it, it doesn't go all over the place. This is peat, which under normal circumstances, excuse me, I wouldn't contemplate owning. But I need this for my Deesers, which was the only reason I bought it. Otherwise I'd use some sort of substitute. Now all I'm doing is putting a little in the bottom of the tray, and this is not for the moss to actually grow in, it's to help keep the water acidic, which is what the moss needs. You don't normally find sphagnum moss growing in alkaline conditions, or very rarely in neutral conditions. It's normally in acidic conditions. So this peat will help keep the water that the moss is soaking in acidic. Now I don't know how far this moss is going to go, but I suspect it's going to go to at least 2 trays, so we'll set up 2. This doesn't need to be deep, this peat. It's like I say, it's not for the moss to grow in, it's just to change the pH of the water basically, which it should do admirably. I bet if I put this peat in a little bit of water and then tested the pH, it would be down at about 3. Very acidic peat, and therefore a very specialised and rare environment, and it should be protected at all costs. So I shouldn't be owning this really. As I said, it has a specific purpose, and the specialist Deeser nursery in this country says that if he loses access to real peat, he just as well throw his Deesers away, because he's never found anything else that they grow in as well as they do in the peat. So he thinks his nursery would be at stake. Where this peat actually comes from, well, this peat comes from a place that grows carnivorous plants, and the guy there, when I went to get it, said exactly the same thing. He said there's a lot of his carnivorous plants just wouldn't grow very well at all if he didn't have peat. So there are still uses for it. What it shouldn't be used for is growing with garden tubs and stuff like that. There's plenty of alternatives. However, if you've got something that really is a specialist plant and that's what it needs, then that is all it should be used for. There's plenty of other substitutes. Now what I'm looking for in here is bugs, primarily. It actually smells fresh. I mean, it's alive, and even if it's got brown stuff in the middle, it will green up. It is living moss. But I'm just making sure that we haven't got any other things living in here, because obviously it's going in the grow room. So what I'm going to do is spread a layer of the brown stuff, you know, the centre, because when this grows naturally, it only stays green on the surface. It's always brown underneath. So isn't very much. Get a bigger layer on, I think. I'm not going to compact this, I'm just gently pressing it down so that it's all touching. Doesn't need to be compacted. And then the idea is to find some nice bright green stuff to put over the top, so that it looks pretty if nothing else. obviously the green stuff is currently living, so that's the stuff I want on the top. And then we'll see if it grows. Yeah, I've got no guarantee it will. I've never bought live sphagnum before. I just happened to see this at the garden centre where I went to see Burnham's last Saturday. Crikey, that's nearly a week ago. Time fly. Along with some clay pots that I found there, very cheap, which we may have a go at making some holes in one day. The trouble is with that, although it sounds like a great idea and everybody's looking forward to me having a go at it, I don't need any holy clay pots at the moment. I haven't got anything to plant them in. Everything that needs a holy clay pot's got one. So, you know, the need isn't there. So I'm not in any rush, and that probably means it's not going to get done for some time actually. Right. Well, that's most of the surface covered in green stuff. Now all we got to do is get some water in there, and this is the problem. Although sphagnum can be found growing in quite stale, almost stagnant water, which is where a lot of the acidity would come from, the top of it is just sitting on the surface and gets rained on a lot, so it would be purer water near the surface, I suspect. So that's it, and then I'm just going to fill that tray up to the top and watch what happens, basically. I don't know whether I'm going to get 3 trays out of this. I'm going to keep throwing it on the floor, it might help. I knew this was going to be a bit messy. I'm not sure I even want 3 trays, but there's a right manky bit there. But if I can get 3 trays, you know, it's I mean, this will all help with the humidity in the grow room. You know, this is going to stay constantly wet, so it will all help keep the humidity up. It's going to use up more of my RO water though, but so be it. And at the moment I don't worry about the RO water when I want some. You know, I set the RO unit up for the day and pop in and out during the day and get all my containers filled up. I mean, at the moment probably the biggest user of the RO water is the hydrofogger, but in a few weeks time that's going to drop right off. Days will be shorter, therefore it's not needed as often, and temperatures are already dropping down a bit, and you know, eventually the hydrofogger will get to the point where it hardly ever comes on. And there's more than enough humidity in the grow room, if you see what I mean, without the hydrofogger having to come on. Let's see, find some green bits again. I expect there's some on the other side of the bag. Let's have a turn it over and see what we're missing on the other side. Oh, actually there's very little there. That's probably where it was stacked. So most of the green stuff is on this side of the bag, and there's probably only going to be enough to do this tray. The rest of it, I don't know what I'll do with that. What I may do is just keep it in the bag and put it in the light and see if it will green up in the bag, and then if it does I might get another tray full out of it. But, yeah, at the moment the amount of nice bright green is getting a bit thin. We still have some. It's getting a bit thin on the ground now, there's not much left. Distinct different feel to the green stuff. It's a lot feathery and lighter to the touch than the brown bits. To say, the fact that it's all alive, any brown patches on the trays will probably green up anyway. It's just nice to start with a nice green surface or in the main a green surface. Right, that's it, 2 trayfuls, and as I said, I'm going to seal the bag up again to keep the moisture in and put it somewhere light to see if the top surface of the bag will green up. And it may well do. So there we go, 2 trays of sphagnum moss, top them up with water, and I suspect that I will top the tray up with water, turn me back and look round, and it'll all have gone and the moss will have soaked it all up. The peat was already wet, so that won't hold much, but the moss will, I bet. Still, we will keep the water level just below the surface of the moss so that it stays constantly wet. And we'll see if it grows, and if it does, I've got a constant supply of live moss for various uses. It's also decorative, it looks really nice, you know. Some sphagnum moss even gets a reddish tinge if it gets enough light. So we'll see what we get from it anyway. The bag did say New Zealand moss, so this is the same sort of stuff as I've been using, except for the stuff I've been using is dead, allegedly. Although we have had instances of zombie moss where it's flipping come back to life. Anyway, that's that job done. I've been meaning to do that for a few days now, so we'll set that up in the grow room somewhere and see how it gets on. See you next time.